So what does God care about tattoos? I got a tattoo. I got one right before I got married because I knew my wife wouldn't like one. And I knew she probably wouldn't let me get it. So I got it. I was in Boise, Idaho. What else are you going to do in Boise, Idaho? So I got a tattoo. And what I did is I knew my wife wasn't, my fiance, my wife-to-be wasn't going to like it. So I grew great big old mutton sideburns, mutton chops, big old Tom Petty sideburns. So I knew she wouldn't like those either. And I went and she saw the sideburns. She's like, what the heck? I go, oh, you don't like them? Oh, it's okay, baby. I love you. I'll shave them off. By the way, can't shave that off. Showed her my tattoo. It's a little rose. People say, why did you get a rose? And to be honest with you, I only had $25, so that's what I could get. That's what it got me. And I always intended to put her name on it, never did. So now 21 years later, we're going to have our 21-year anniversary here this next week. And still doesn't have her name on it. And but I got one. And I got back to my church home, and I had some of the, the obligatory, Leviticus says you're not supposed to get that tattoo. And so I was wrenched with guilt for about 2 minutes. And so what about tattoos? What does tattoos teach us? If you take a tattoo, and some of you young people, by the way, if you young people leave here and you say, well, Pastor Jim says it's okay to get a tattoo, and all you parents listen to this now, I'm not saying that, okay? I'm not saying, because the Bible also says honor your father and your mother, and as long as they're paying the bills and you're living under their house and they're eating their food, don't go get tattoos, okay? But if I get a tattoo on my skin, see if I'm doing this right. If I get a tattoo, what makes it stick to my stick? Now, this is just obviously a little stick-on tattoo. I don't know if I'm doing this right or not. Am I doing this right? And then get the towel wet. If you go get one for reals, as you know, they jam 1,000 little needles in you, and it hurts. So I always tell young people, come up here and let me pinch you really hard in a real tender place. Picture that about 10,000 times. It tends to deter them from getting tattoos. But if I was going to actually get a tattoo, they take all these little needles and they inject ink into my arm, because my arm is made of flesh and it can actually pierce into it. Then the ink takes the, kind of absorbed in the skin, and I end up with a permanent tattoo. Now, if my arm is made out of stone, the little needles can't get into it and nothing penetrates. And I end up with nothing. Just the little needles break and you kind of just wipe it off and it doesn't penetrate. This is what was happening, and we just read. This was happening with the nation of Israel. God says, I want to put my word in your heart, but your heart is so hard. It's a stone. We just read that in Ezekiel. Your heart is a stone, and you're not getting this. But the promise of the new covenant is I'm going to put my word in your heart. I'm going to take out that rocky, stony, crappy heart of yours, and I'm going to put a good heart in it. I'm going to put a heart that's fleshly and malleable and that my word can penetrate. I'm going to do that. It's unconditional. It's unconditional. I'm going to do that, God says. Hey, that's pretty good. So we might get hung up on this tattoo, and we might take our big meaty fingers and say, if you love me, keep my commandments and be very obedient to a covenant that was never made to us, and ignore the one that was. Do you got it? Don't applaud yourself because you don't have any tattoos. If your heart is not tattooed with the love of Jesus, you are ignoring the covenant that was made with you. You got it? Jesus doesn't care about this one. He cares about this one. He cares about this tattoo. Is my heart tattooed with the love and the gospel of Jesus Christ? That's the one he cares about. Don't get hung up on stuff that was never meant for you. Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And here's my commandment. Love me and love my people. Do you got it? Please, church, do not place yourself under the bondage of a law that was never meant for you. Place yourself under the law and the bondage of Jesus Christ. He says, my burden's light. He says, my burden's light. He says, learn my words. They're spirit and they're life, and they're going to set you free. They're not going to put you under bondage. Let's live as free people, legally bound to Jesus Christ.